President Trump walking off the plane this morning and right into the lion's den. But he loves that, doesn't he? Taking his America First message to the global elite in Davos, Switzerland, he delivered a blunt message to Europe. Get your house in order because the world's safety and security depends on it.
Certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. They're not recognizable. And we can argue about it, but there's no argument. Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And that's not in a positive way. That's in a very negative way. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good. But it's not heading in the right direction.
Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Jackie DeAngelis, along with my co-hosts Taylor Riggs, Dagan McDowell, Brian Brenberg, and with us for the hour, Michael Lee Strategy founder, Michael Lee. President Trump laying out an economic vision that would have been unthinkable at Davos just a few years ago.
In recent decades, it became conventional wisdom in Washington and European capitals that the only way to grow a modern Western economy was through ever-increasing government spending, unchecked mass migration, and endless foreign imports. Virtually all of the so-called experts predicted my plans to end this failed model would trigger a global recession and runaway inflation. But we have proven them wrong. It's actually just the opposite.
Then he pivoted to Main Street, a temporary 10% cap on credit card interest rates, cracking down on Wall Street firms buying up single-family homes, and pushing for lower mortgage rates. The room in Switzerland was light on applause, but whether they like it or not, America is using its leverage to level the playing field, and Davos is being forced to listen. There was so much in his remarks today, but I am going to start with Greenland because I do think that's what the market turnaround is on. This market was a little worried, Michael Lee, that he was going to use force in Greenland. He unequivocally said, I will not use force to take Greenland, but those tariffs are still on the table. Did we get a stock market that's reassured here?
You know, we did get a pretty sharp reversal and rally on the no military comments. I didn't think military activity was ever really on the table. I guess you never know, but it didn't seem like that was a real possibility to me. And so, look, I think you kind of got to circle back to the hypocrisy that is NATO and that is Europe, in that you look at this war in Ukraine and Russia's the boogeyman, yet every war or every year that we've been at war or Ukraine and Russia have been at war, Europe has spent more money on Russian energy than they put into the war effort. Okay, the U.S. has put, you know, different accounts depending on what the money's spent on, whether you include the money going into Ukraine and their pension funds and that stuff, and then the weapons assistance, you know, tens of billions of dollars. Okay, and so now here's a real opportunity for Denmark, which spends anywhere between $500 million to $700 million a year supporting Greenland to turn around, have a partner that can do a large capital investment, start getting some minerals out of the ground so it could be a net cash flow positive to the country, and also be able to effectively combat Russia. From there, I mean, we do have a military base. We do have an agreement. It's clear that the president does not feel that that's good enough for our national security. But right. I don't know why. I don't understand the pushback from Denmark versus just negotiating the best possible terms for the people of Greenland and for the people of Denmark and for NATO.
Okay, well, here's what the president had to say about that tangentially. Let's listen.
What I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. It's a very small ask compared to what we have given them for many, many decades. But the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%. But I'm not sure that they'd be there for us.
And so he has not been quiet about the fact that he isn't a huge fan of NATO. He's making them pay their fair share. Yep. He's upped all of that. And he's worried that they won't be there for the United States in a national security emergency. And that is why he claims that he's doing this, Brian. But taking military force off the table, he still has the economic weapon, if you will, of tariffs on the table. He wants a deal. Maybe those tariffs get him where he wants to go.
Do you ever play sports when you were a kid and everybody got a trophy, like the participation trophy kinds of sports?
That was my generation.
Yes.
We did.
Okay. So when I look at President Trump at Davos with NATO, what he's basically saying is we're not going to do NATO by participation trophy anymore. Okay? You're all part of it, and in the past, with other presidents, it was like, oh, gee, thanks for being a part of it. Here's your trophy. You get to have Greenland, and you can spend 1%. No more. Okay? President Trump is saying we can't do that anymore because we're playing somebody who wants to win. And we don't all get participation trophies if we lose to China or Russia. So that means you put the ball in the hands of the people who can do something with it, right? Greenland is a piece of ice. I'm with the president. Its location is poor if you want to grow things. It's a great location if you want to defend North America, okay? And so he's saying, give the ball to the people who can do something with it. And that's good for the team, because if Michael Jordan is taking the last shot, you're going to win, okay? If it's Luke Longley, you're probably going to lose. That's a 90s basketball reference right there. So I like that now he gets no applause, Jackie, right? Okay, fine. He's not there for the applause. He's there because he's saying we've gone from participation trophy land to actual competition land, and it's time to put the ball in Michael Jordan's hands so the team can win, and we're all better off. Hardware doesn't matter if you don't win the game.
And the NATO players on the so-called team, they're not happy about this. You see some cozying up to China. You saw that with Canada, too. Because they're not happy, they're going straight to the enemy and trying to get in bed with China, Trump's foe, everybody's foe. If you really think about it, you have to question why they're doing that. But I think that he's more committed to doing this, Dagan, now than ever.
He is. Well, because he's standing up for the United States of America. He's the lead. That is his singular goal, is not just the next 3 years, but if you listen to him talk, and I kind of felt like the myopic focus on Greenland obscures Trump's total command of everything that is our economy. And he was talking to all of these nations and all these leaders and saying, if you just follow what we're doing in the United States, this is also your path to prosperity. It's our template and also working with us. But again, get off of the green scam and focus on fossil fuels, focus on cheap energy, which benefits all of your people. And guess who has it? We have it. I'm paraphrasing. But I was just kind of taken aback, and to Mike's point, as soon as he said, I won't use force, the Dow futures shot up. But if anyone was listening to Larry Kudlow, he's been saying for days, negotiations. Larry kept going back to the Truth Social post from President Trump over the weekend. The quote today was, quote, immediate negotiations to discuss acquisition of Greenland. And again, the focus in our media, the focus of leaders, of anybody who had the energy to just jackjaw about President Trump and Greenland was just wrong.
Yeah.
But to get back to the economy, that if you listen to him talk about what is happening in the United States, his command of all of our different industries and how all of these kind of foundational building blocks and bricks work together and what is required to build something that is lasting and prosperous for everyone is just astonishing.
Yeah, it's remarkable. A lot on Greenland, but also he did a lot on the economy.
Yes.
He has thrown all this spaghetti against the wall on ways that he's going to address affordability, Taylor. And today he gave us some clarity on which pieces of spaghetti are sticking. He said no large institutions to buy single-family homes. He's going to do an executive order on that, and then he wants Congress to follow up. Then he talked about Fannie and Freddie buying the mortgages, $200 billion, to bring interest rates down, to make homes more affordable. And And then he said he's asking Congress to cap credit card interest rates at 10% for a year, again, to address affordability. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so we talked about this yesterday. The Fed's cut 75 basis points, but it's only seen mortgage rates decline by 20 basis points. When the Fannie and Freddie announcement went out about buying $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities, that helped a little bit, rally bonds on the long end. But again, one stat, and we've sort of debated what percent of owners have what interest rate. But the latest that stands out to me is 2/3 of mortgages are still at a rate below 5%. So 5.5% and 6% is good, but it's still higher. So it's unlocking a little bit of supply. And as we've talked about, this is a lot of demand side. We really want to see a lot of supply side stuff, which we haven't yet seen, unless we talk about deregulation and what's in the big, beautiful bill. And maybe there's 10 cuts to every deregulation that you enact one. I mean, that's all good. But specifically with the housing market, I don't think we've yet seen it. But otherwise, Jackie, I love that this speech was definitely global and talked about Greenland, but he was hitting some economic points. He said the credit card companies profit, Dagan, I do this for you, 50%. Imagine what that would do if you just capped it at 1 year for 10%. Not saying I agree or disagree, but that's the message. He talked about growing our way out of debt. Tariff revenue plus cutting costs. He mentioned Minnesota, $19 billion in fraud. He said if we cut all the fraud in this country, we could balance our budget. Yeah. Like there's economic talk coming out of him. Growth will offset debt. 52 record highs on the stock market creates $9 trillion in pension wealth, 401k wealth. And so there certainly was a lot of sort of domestic economic stuff. Quickly on Greenland as well. Ken Griffin over at Citadel had very interesting comments where he thought one of the more interesting comments that Trump said is, we will always come to NATO's defense or to a European country's defense. But if we called them and said we're being attacked, are we confident that they would come help us? Ken Griffin said this. The commitment to defend our country, if you just look at just general polls, really, really deep. If you ask Europeans the commitment to defend their countries, not so deep. He was talking about the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was America's doing in large part. So if we're there for America and we're there for Europe, but we're not 100% sure that Europe would be there for us if we called, that really stood out to me as to make the case for Greenland. I'm not sure we should do it over tariffs or through military force, but that sentence alone made a really strong impression on why that makes the case that we have to be there, because we're going to have to be there.
And on all these issues, we've debated on this panel many times whether the message is getting out there in the right way. And he took this opportunity for sure, the president, to be messenger in chief on all fronts. And I think it was loud and clear.